All right, let's get into it. I'm going to walk you through the absolute basics of JavaScript in 5 minutes. Put 5 minutes on the clock. Let's dive in. So what is JavaScript? JavaScript is a programming language that makes websites interactive by allowing them to respond to user actions and dynamically updating content. So when you click on a button on a website and it does something, that's probably JavaScript. JavaScript can be used on the back end as well. Using things like Node.js, Deno, or Bun, you can spin up a web server for your website. To add JavaScript to your website, you can include it directly in your HTML code using the script tag, or link it to an external JavaScript file using the script tag's source attribute. In JavaScript, a variable is a container for storing data values, and is declared using keywords like var, let, and const. Let and const is the preferred way of defining a variable. Var is an old way of doing it. Var and let can be set any number of times. Const can only be set once. Inside a variable, you can store a string, which is text, a number, boolean, array, object, or a function. I'll get into what an array, object, and function are next. Arrays are a list of values. To create an array, you just have an opening and closing square bracket, and this will create an empty array. If you want to put values on the inside, you can do that. And these can hold the same values as any variable. So if you want to read from an array, you just reference the variable and then use a square bracket, closing bracket, and then the index of what you want to reference. So 0 would be the first one, 1 would be the second, and 2 would be the third, and so on and so forth. Objects are defined by using an opening and closing curly brace, and you put your values in between. Objects use something called a key value pair. You can think of it like a dictionary, where the key is the word and the value is the definition. So as an example, our key would be dog, and our value would be an animal with 4 legs. Now, to have multiple values inside of an object, you just separate it by a comma. And if we add more, you can see this. And once again, objects' values can be anything that a variable can handle. So strings, numbers, booleans, and even objects. Now to read from an object, you just reference the object, and then you can use a dot notation, which is dot, and then the key, and this will output the value. Or you can use the square bracket notation and type it in, and this will output the value. Functions are a block of reusable code. And when you run that function, it executes the code in between the curly braces. So in this example, we have a function named add, and we have 2 arguments. So the return statement will specify what is output from the function. So if we call this function add with an argument of 1 and 2, so A would be 1, B would be 2, and we add the 2 together, and we're saying that we want to return the result of A plus B, which would be 3. And then we can call it again with add 2 plus 3 is equal to 5. Now there's also an abbreviated syntax called the arrow function, which is exactly the same as the other one. It's just a little quicker to write. So you would have your arguments, an arrow, and then the code that you would want to run. If you're only returning a value from your function, there's even a shorter way of writing this. You don't actually need the curly braces. You can just write in here what you want to return. Now, a popular function that we use all the time is console log, and this just outputs whatever's inside as an argument to DevTools or your terminal. Console log is available in all JavaScript engines, so you don't have to define this function to use it. But as an example, if we want to show how console log might have been made, you can have console as an object, and then a key for log, and then setting the value as a function. And then the inside of this function would output to the console. When we say console.log, we're referencing this key, which is a function, and then we're using that function. An if statement is a way to determine whether code should be run based on a condition that is met. So as an example, we have a variable named a that equals 1. So if a is equal to 1 in this condition, then it will run the code on the inside. Now we also have something called an else if. So if our variable is a equals 2 and it doesn't match our first condition, we can say else if and then give another condition. So if a is greater than 1, which it is, then I'll use this block of code. Lastly, we have an else. So this is a way to catch anything that doesn't match the first two. So we have a equals -1. It doesn't match the first, it doesn't match the second, So by default, it'll fall to the third. And lastly, the most important thing that you'll ever need to know about JavaScript is just kidding. There's nothing important about JavaScript. I had lots of fun making this. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you like this type of content, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're looking for more front-end development videos, you can check out our last video on how to create a layout using CSS Grid. Thanks for watching. See you next time.